before I begin like what we're going to talk about, let's just talk about the way the structure is going to be. So I'm going to talk about my life probably so that I can give you examples how I learned through my mistakes probably. And then in the end, we can have a Q&A session where and discussion if you're like something like that. So owning your narrative was something I am really passionate about because as a CS major, as a woman, and as an international student in this country, I realize there are a lot of the times we try to hide what we are, right? When we are applying to jobs, sometimes as international people or just women in general, we don't want to showcase like, hey, I'm a person of color, or I'm a woman, or I belong to XYZ country, whatever our current situation is, right? And initially in the start, I was used to do that in freshman year and maybe sophomore year start. I was like, I'm not comfortable people knowing, I had a feeling that they may or may not be biased against me about that, uh, which I found it okay at the time. But then I realized eventually what people look for when they're looking for you to be partners with them or just interact with them in general is somebody who is their friend and who they know a lot about, right? Who they can easily have an interaction with, a conversation with. Um, I mean, in the freshman year, when I was thinking of applying to jobs and just scholarships and other things in general, I always felt like how being I'm my qualification at the time because I'm a freshman right now, I might not have enough technical experience. I might not know these amazing programming languages. I don't know what cloud is, blockchain is, or DevOps is, and these awesome people around me just know everything, and they seem to have figured out everything going on in their life. And what I realized or learned from that entire process is it's not actually about it. So eventually, as Shaista mentioned earlier, I started my own DSC at UT Dallas, right? So when I was starting that program, I realized I was on the other end of the equation, right? I was getting people to interact with us, getting them to join, maybe join as officers, join as members, community leaders. There were so many ways. I was on both sides of the equation at a time. And it hit me to a point that I realized that it doesn't matter where you start from, right? Whatever you are. When I would open the officer applications, I would say, hey, I need XYZ skills for y'all. And if y'all can meet them, let's go and talk and we can set up an interview sometime, right? But what I realized is I often apply to other clubs like this, and every time I would get in, I was like, oh my God, I get into this awesome club and I'm an officer now. It differentiates me so much. I am so cool now as a person, right? And but still, it would not feel equivalent to somebody maybe who is somebody else, right? And has so many awesome things on their supposed resume and everything. And it just is about how much people like you and their story, right? It's never about how many qualifications you have on paper. When I started the DSC, I wasn't like, probably, if you go to my resume, you wouldn't have found like I have done so many projects, I've led so many organizations. You wouldn't have found that. I participated in a very small organization and parted like did work which I liked a lot, and which was very different from what I did in DSC, because DSC in my chapter has like 800 plus people, which was a very different task. So at the end of the day, what it came down to was when I was doing I was a part of those small clubs and learning my skills, being a secretary maybe, or a social media manager, or just taking meeting notes, taking any responsibility you get, just standing up there and say, hey, I want to do this task, right? Gives you a lot of experience how to go about it. And which in turn makes you realize that no matter how small the task might seem, it's important. And when you reach these higher positions, the higher up you move in the ladder eventually. I'm pretty sure some of y'all may be higher up in the ladders in whatever you are doing, or maybe some people are trying to. When you reach that position, you realize it wasn't even about that position that actually mattered and what makes you stay in that position. It's about the culture. I know a lot of people talk about it. Like when I was sophomore year or like freshman, people were telling me, no, it's about the company culture you should go about, you know, it sounds the most awesome thing and that's what you stick with. But then you would say to yourself, like, I mean, I need money first and I need to get a job, and that's what matters the most. And that's exactly the way it goes just with the university experience in general. We think that these things matter, but it doesn't. It matters about what people are around you. So I would give an example of I was a public relations officer in a club called like Blockchain, and I didn't do a whole bunch as much like create flyers and stuff. But what it was a very tiny club. But what was the important part was the president and the CEO or like the chief financial officer at the time. They were so important leaders in the community that when I was starting the DSC and my chapter, I took a whole bunch of help from them. They were my awesome mentors and they helped me every step of the way from getting it started to getting it off the ground. You know, just if I needed some questions answered, those are the people I would go to. And just stating that you struggled, you know, if I'm talking to you and I'm telling you, like, hey, when I was starting that chapter, I struggled, I had to seek help from these XYZ people, right? I mean, I am the founder, but that doesn't mean I didn't need help, right? Same goes for every tiny position you are in. I mean, you could be maybe just in classes, you know, if you're in a class and you have a question, we often feel like, I don't want to ask that question because it's silly, right? So it happens in every single position. I think in one of the workshops or the tech internship panels we were in, somebody mentioned how people like who, it's not people look for the people who know everything. They look for people who know when to stop and when to ask questions, right? And questions and everything comes into existence when you know about the fact that I need help at this current time and I need to go and talk to you, right? Just understanding wherever you are and you're fine, you're perfect, you're awesome. And if you see, I was used to compare myself with my older sisters a lot. Like, I don't know if any of you all had families like in which there was some sort of competition going on indirectly. I had that in my family, and it was a huge deal for me to like get adjusted to the fact that somebody is probably better than me. I need to have the same grades as them, if not better. I need to do XYZ things. I need to get a better salary, get a better company. And to get you out of that, because I constantly felt she's so much awesome than me. And suddenly it hits you, you were wasting time, you know, because you were chasing after somebody else. You have to carve your own path. You know, there's certain things you like. You are, maybe you like creativity and you like tech, maybe you could be a UI UX designer. I like ML and I like product, so I'm hoping to maybe like find a way in product and ML together and maybe create an awesome solution, right? um yeah, it's like I, it's all about your experiences. I don't know, I think of Shaista probably is also a freshman, right? And I think you're a freshman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think me and her were having a conversation earlier where she mentioned she's just getting started and she needs a little more technical experience. And you know, a lot of the times it's about the way you present and talk, right? If you did a project, right? Nobody on the planet knows how awesome that project was or how hard it is. The only way somebody gets to know about you is when you put it out there, right? Nobody has the time to purposely look through every single thing you do. If somebody knows something about you, it came through you one way or the other, which also means that it's all about the way you present it. If you did a tiny task and it mattered to you, it will sound awesome to be in the recruiter. Maybe it's like just creating an Excel sheet, maybe, you know, and you were like, I was so shocked to like have that feature there and just keep on talking about it. It's all about that enthusiasm you show, you know, because that makes the other person think that was such a cool opportunity. That was such a cool learning experience for you. It must be really incredible, because how other people see things is what you can control. How they might react to it's different, but how they might see it is something you can actually control. And it's all about how you put it out there. You can say like, hey, I was a part of this very small club, we didn't do a whole bunch. Forget about being an officer, just being a community member. Or you can be like, so I was this part of this UI UX community club, and we just went every weekend, and we probably took an app off the internet and just redesigned it every single time, and we would come up with these awesome ideas. And then there's this one other person, me and I would him would always have these debates about if we should have menus like this, if responsive designs are better than hybrid. You know, it's not about what you say, I have these many tag labels on my resume. Like, I started this, I did that. It's about how you present them and how you talk to them about those particular experiences, right? Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. But if y'all have questions or you just want to talk about these things or share your stories, we can like have a conversation. It's more of a discussion thingy rather than just like me talking. I kind of wanted to keep it that way.
Yeah. I totally agree. Like, I think that everyone can start sending their questions, like if they want to send it in the chat, or if they want to unmute and ask, like you can raise your hand and we'll call on you to speak. And like if you just want to ask anonymously, you can just message me or Ethan. So like till everyone's just sending his questions, like I have a question for you, Aditi. Like, why do you find it important to have more women in technology?
I think it's important because it's somebody I can see and I can relate with, right? So, again, there are very few females in technology in general as of now, and I hope that changes very soon, which also means there are very few female founders out there. So, in clubs, I think Chloe did an awesome job with this Women in Tech conference in general. Like, it was such a cool initiative, and I'm pretty sure that took a lot of energy and guts to just get it off of the ground and talking to so many people, right? I know it because when I was starting my club, I really didn't find a very technical club which was based on workshops and had a female founder. Because the challenges we experience, because a lot of the times people assume that females may or may not be as capable as men when you look at probably some of the what can you say? Some of the tech fields, like if you go in machine learning, right? And somebody might think, I don't know, you might have not that much experience. I would prefer that person. It hasn't personally happened to me, but it's just a feeling that might be cooler. And honestly, if you're in a class and you want to ask questions, right? Some people would be okay with going and asking questions to anybody, but other times you will feel like that person looks similar to me, has similar experiences with me, I might go up to them and ask questions. So the more female technologists are there in the field right now, the more female technologists will be in the future because it will inspire them to learn from their journey and move forward together. And if you look at it, a lot of these technologies in this current time are kind of biased towards, like, if you look at computer vision, right? A lot of people talk about how these vision technologies were perfectly for white males rather than on any other community, right? So it's like they were chiefly developed by them at those segment of the people. So if there are more people, it will be more representative. Um, and oh, I Oh, I really get it because when I was just like, I think the sophomore year, like first 2 months, I thought I was the worst person at coding. Like, just the fact you said you think you are totally terrible at coding, right? I was like, that's me right there. I can relate. What I did was I literally was on LinkedIn and I saw this person do 100 days of code and I was so jealous. I was like, wow, somebody has so much skill and dedication, they can make a complete project every single day and post it on LinkedIn. And I got jealous and I was like, I'm gonna make something on my own. And that's how I got started. Actually, I made that one project, and that's the thing that has been getting me all the interviews and all the jobs by far. I talk about it all the time. It's the Sudoku AI project. It's on my LinkedIn too. It's like really flashy out there. It was my first that made me realize my love for machine learning. But it's like, thing is, you don't know what you're good at coding or not, you know? Like if people say that, hey, you need to know data structures. If you look at it, data structures is needed for interviews, right? A lot of the interviews, but a lot of those won't even require that. If you were talking to people at conference, they would look at your actual skill, you know? Because in general, companies, they wouldn't have those data structures things, you know, the things you will be working on will be way different than what you are tested on during the interviews. So as long as you know like something, the skill that can be used, I personally, I don't think I'm great at data structures. I don't. But what I think I'm good at is ML, and I think I'm good at product management. And that is what I've been going for. So even in my interviews, when I talk to the recruiter, right, I tell them like, hey, this is happening. And they understand that because they also know that the skills that I need for the job, I have those, right? I am smart enough to like figure out my way around data structures. So I can like literally like go around the interviews, give you a workable solution, maybe not the best one, but I can get the job done if you hire me, right? I can add value to the company because what I know how to do, I can be the best at it. I think that's the most important thing. So whatever skill or whatever area you are interested in, it's UI, ML, maybe web, just start working on it more. Do a little bit of data structure so you can work around like your technical interviews because some of the companies will require it. Others you can like ignore those if you go to conferences, maybe Tapia or like other things. But just knowing a little bit work around that and knowing the skill you need, right, for that particular role is all I can say is required for getting or just getting started with coding in general. Yeah.
That was awesome. Do you mind sharing more about your like the project that you did which helped you get all the interviews?
Yeah. Oh, I can talk endlessly about it. So it is more about it sees a Sudoku. You click a photograph, right? And it will extract the entire grid of the Sudoku and recognize every number in it through deep learning, then use the Python or the backtracking technology. Sounds all fancy. I've implemented a whole bunch of algorithms. They just look fancy. They're named fancy. They're very normal. Just, you know, it's like, I think I realized that a lot of the people are so much into naming things fancy in CS. Like, this is so cool. It's backtracking. It's this. It's there was what is I think it's Rammer Elkins something theorem that I used to get the distance between 2 points in it, or like approximate the polygon, what shape it is. It sounds all fancy. It's literally 3 lines of code, and the logic is so simple. These people just name it fancy to make it seem difficult, and we never get started with it.
Yeah, we have a question from the chat. So it's about internships for college and after graduation. So like maybe you could, if it would be okay for you to share some experiences and like maybe some tips for our audience.
Yeah. So is it like how to get internships and like full time?
Yeah, I think that's the idea.
Okay. Yeah. So for full time, I can say because I will be looking for full time. I can talk about internship experience though. So for me personally, what I found the best trick about getting those interviews in the first place is talking to people. Like, I am not saying that just go and talk to random people. I mean, that's also a cool idea. On LinkedIn, I will go to probably find somebody from a particular company at my university and text them. But you know, usually what people do in texting is they will say, hey, I saw you work at this company. I am interested in this job. Probably you could refer me, you know, we're from the same place. Rather than going about it, just go and be like, hey, can you have like a 15 to 20 minute chat with me, you know, a virtual Zoom call, and we can discuss about the company and the role and how you're working at. And you know, since probably they're from your university or the field that you are interested in, they might be able to tell you a lot of the things. Like if they're from a university, they can tell you generally what pay you get out of university, what is the best way to go around to look for jobs from that university, which recruiters to go for. And you get an extra mentor at the same point, right? Which is an awesome way to go about it. And then they will also refer you at the end of the day if they liked your conversation, because they had a conversation, they invested time in you by talking to you like those 15 to 20 minutes, and it creates an impression. Because not many people, a lot of people text people on LinkedIn, but not a lot of people schedule a call with them to have a conversation about their life. You know, if you talk about yourself, they probably may or may not remember you. But you try to have a conversation about their life, they will definitely remember you. Because just we are all people, we would love to talk about ourselves. It's let just somebody ask you. Part-time internships, I think they're kind of easier to land, but they're harder to find in general, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think there's a particular job post like you will look over or easily find like a GitHub repo where it says all the part-time jobs available in tech right now. I don't think there is a thing like that. But if you, I remember I was in Piazza and there was a company, I think Nokia or some other company, and might have filled a form like months ago, and they suddenly saw my profile and were like, hey, do you want to get on a call? We can schedule you. They scheduled an interview, like lasted 20 minutes, and they were like, hey, you can take the internship. Or like it was a totally a part-time internship, but I couldn't take it. I was like an international student, and there were some visa issues at that point. But as far as I know, in general, it's very easy to find part-time internships in comparison, like land them, but finding them is the hardest choice, right? So if you know people working around you in tech, maybe your parents, your uncles, your friends, cousins, I don't know, just reach out to them and be like, hey, is your company looking for people? And maybe if you interned somewhere last summer or something, you know, you can ask them like, I think I could be additional help. And if you like, I can join the company in fall again or spring again for this particular time. Yeah, I think that'll be a cool way to go about it.
Maybe I could jump in. So, how important would you say networking is in the tech field?
I think networking, if you would have asked me like a month ago, I would say networking on top and skills on second. Now I am a little skeptical. I think they're kind of equal, because at the end of the day, if you want to apply those skills, you need a job. To get a job, you need to like have a conversation with people. But at the same time, if you're very, very qualified, you know, I'm talking about like that extremely smart group of people, you don't need networking at all. You can just apply, you will get the job yourself. But for ordinary people like me, I would go with, we really need networking. Just going and having conversations not only increases your just the number of people you talk to, it increases your experience because you get to know about their stories, how know what to expect from the field, you know, because sometimes we think that this field might look like this might be the culture, but that might not be the case. It can be very different from what you expect. So it's important to just have those conversations and be really aware of what you're getting yourself into.